Elena Bradford smiled into the camera, her voice steady, her eyes calm. But behind that perfectly lit frame, something had already shattered. Just hours later, her husband Marcus would be found unconscious beneath Stillwater Bridge. And 500,000 viewers would be replaying the live stream where Elena exposed the darkest secret of their marriage live. What began as a picture-perfect influencer couple spiraled into a chilling web of lies, betrayal, and a final, irreversible act caught in real time. How did it come to this? And why did Elena wait until the whole world was watching to strike? Elena Bradford had the kind of life that people envied. At 33, she was the co-owner of one of the fastest-growing online fitness platforms in the country. Alongside her husband, Marcus Bradford, she had built a digital empire from their picturesque home studio in Stillwater, a quiet, forest-lined town where neighbors waved, crime was low, and the drama stayed on Netflix. Together they were influencers, entrepreneurs, and local celebrities. Their morning live streams pulled in over 50,000 viewers daily, a mix of high-energy workouts, motivational quotes, and healthy meal preps. To their followers, they weren't just a couple, they were a brand, a flawless glowing image of health, discipline, and unity. Elena played her part perfectly. With her sharp business mind, she handled the deals, sponsorships, and marketing. Marcus was the face and the muscle. A natural on camera, he was charming, confident, and endlessly energetic. Fans adored him. He called Elena his queen in nearly every stream, often pausing mid-workout to kiss her cheek or make a joke that sent hearts flooding the chat. They had matching tattoos, coordinated gym outfits, and an anniversary video that had gone viral, set to soft piano music and drone shots of their wedding under a canopy of oak trees. They were, in every sense, perfect. But even perfect images can have flaws you don't see until the light hits from a different angle. Elena had always been a planner. She liked order, routine, and predictability. Every video was storyboarded, every brand meeting meticulously scheduled. Marcus was her opposite, spontaneous, impulsive, a little too charming sometimes. But Elena had chalked that up to his personality. It worked for their brand, and their brand was thriving. What Elena didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that something in her perfect world had already started to unravel. Quietly, invisibly, like a slow leak behind a wall. It began with small things. Marcus would stay late at the studio, saying he was editing content, but Elena noticed his laptop history was always wiped. He started locking his phone. One night, after filming a pre-recorded workout session, she noticed his wedding ring was missing. He claimed he had taken it off while lifting weights and forgotten to put it back on. That same night, he came to bed with a smile on his face and the scent of a new cologne Elena didn't recognize. Still, she told herself not to overthink. Stress, she thought. It's just the pressure of growing too fast. Maybe he's tired. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe we're both just overworked. But deep inside her, something started to stir. A quiet itch that refused to go away. One morning while Marcus was out on a run, Elena opened his office drawer looking for a USB drive. Instead, she found a receipt from a jewelry store in another town, dated just 2 weeks prior. It listed a purchase of a gold necklace with the engraving LM, always yours. Her initials were not. She stared at the receipt for minutes, frozen, the numbers blurred. Her ears rang. It could have been a mistake, she told herself. Maybe it was a gift for a friend. A marketing thing, a future campaign giveaway. She even considered confronting him, but something in her gut told her not to. Not yet. Because if Marcus was hiding something, if there was a lie buried beneath their carefully polished life, Elena needed to know how deep it went. She needed to be sure before she pulled the first thread. What if this was just the beginning? And so, for the first time in their 9-year marriage, Elena decided to watch instead of act. Observe instead of ask. That decision, made in the silence of their sunlit living room, would become the first step in a chain of events that would lead not only to betrayal, but to a moment the world would witness live in horror. Stillwater had no idea what was coming. Neither did Marcus. But Elena, she had just started to see the truth. Elena couldn't sleep after finding the jewelry receipt. Her mind played it on repeat. LM, always yours, like a cruel riddle she couldn't solve. She started to question everything. Marcus's late nights, the secretive phone behavior, the sudden need for solo runs that lasted hours. It wasn't just the necklace, it was the feeling, that quiet instinct telling her something was very wrong. She began to wonder, how well did she really know her husband? The next morning, Marcus acted as if nothing had changed. He made green smoothies, cracked a joke about a troll in their comment section, and kissed her forehead before heading to the garage to set up the next live session. His smile was convincing, too convincing. Elena watched him through the kitchen window, her stomach turning. That's when she decided to look deeper. Not confront, not accuse. Just look. It started with his emails. Marcus wasn't very tech-savvy and often saved his passwords in the Notes app, thinking no one would ever check. Elena waited until he left his phone charging and used the fingerprint scanner to unlock it. She wasn't proud, but the truth had become more important than her guilt. She found his email open to a hidden folder labeled Archive. Dozens of messages were stored there, none of them addressed to her. One email stood out. It was from someone named Julian Cross. The subject line read, "You owe me, Mark." She opened it. The message was short, but chilling. "I kept your secret once, but secrets don't stay buried forever. You know that better than anyone. Mark?" Elena read it again, then again. There was no Mark in Marcus's life. No friend by that name. But something about the tone, the familiarity, the threat made her skin crawl. She scrolled through older email, more messages from Julian, each increasingly aggressive, filled with cryptic references. "You think changing your name erases everything, and I took the fall. You ran." It didn't make sense, or maybe it made too much sense. Who was Mark? She searched Marcus's name in old emails, bank accounts, and even old media databases. Nothing came up. But when she entered Mark Carter, paired with Julian Cross, her screen filled with hits. Articles from 10 years ago, a financial scam in Chicago involving two young men accused of defrauding investors through a fake tech startup. The scheme had collapsed in one man was arrested, Julian Cross, the other had vanished. Mark Carter was never found. The mugshots made her heart freeze. Julian looked older, rougher, but unmistakable. And beside him, in a blurry courtroom sketch, was Marcus. Same jawline, same eyes, slightly younger, clean-shaven, wearing a tie. Marcus Bradford didn't exist before. Elena sat there in silence, barely breathing. Her husband, her perfect, kind, confident husband, had been living under a false name, a fugitive. A man who ran when things got dangerous and let someone else take the blame. And he had never told her, not once. She wanted to believe there was some explanation. That Marcus had made a mistake, rebuilt his life, and left the past behind. But Julian's emails didn't sound like they were done. They sounded like a warning, a storm building just beyond the edge of the horizon. A few days later, an unmarked envelope arrived in their mailbox. No return address, no stamps, just her name printed in shaky black ink. Inside were photocopies of police reports, financial records, court documents, all tied to the Mark Carter case. At the bottom was a photo, a grainy image taken from what looked like a hotel security camera. It was Marcus, stepping into a room. And beside him, holding his hand, was a woman who looked alarmingly like Elena. But it wasn't her. Elena dropped the photo. Her heart pounded against her ribs. Her hands trembled. The walls of her perfect world were beginning to collapse. This wasn't just about betrayal. This wasn't just about infidelity. This was about identity. About danger. About the man she thought she knew, and the truth he had worked so hard to bury. Elena stared at the photo long after her hands had stopped shaking. The image was slightly blurred, taken from a downward angle, as if captured by a hallway camera. But there was no mistaking the man in the picture. It was Marcus. Same athletic build, same easy posture, the same subtle smirk he wore when he thought no one was watching. But the woman with him clinging to his arm as they entered the hotel room was what disturbed Elena the most. Her hair was the same deep brown shade, parted the same way. Her body shape, even the way she dressed, was eerily familiar. From a distance, she could have passed for Elena herself. It wasn't just an affair. It felt like a replacement. Elena laid out all the documents she had gathered. Emails from Julian, court records about Mark Carter, and now, this photo. Each piece whispered a different truth, but together they painted a story that Marcus had worked hard to keep hidden. He hadn't simply lied, he had erased a life, rewritten himself, and stepped into her world like a ghost wearing a new face. And now, that ghost seemed to be building another life, one that mirrored theirs, but with someone new playing her part. The thought made Elena feel like she was drowning in a life that no longer belonged to her. Who was Marcus, really? And who was the woman in the photo? Elena needed answers, but not from Marcus. Not yet. She didn't trust his charm or carefully crafted explanations. She needed to go deeper. She needed someone who had been there at the beginning. That meant Julian. With help from her closest friend, Mia Cortez, a cybersecurity analyst and the only person Elena trusted completely, they began to trace Julian's digital footprint. Elena didn't want Mia to know everything, just enough to justify the urgency. They traced Julian through old social media pages, encrypted message boards, and hidden email handles. Eventually they found an active account under the alias Jade's Crute. It belonged to a private digital forum that discussed wrongful convictions and missing suspects from cold cases. Julian was still out there, and he was watching. Elena messaged him from a burner account, carefully crafting a message that wouldn't scare him off. "I know what happened to you. I know who he is now. I just want the truth." To her surprise, Julian responded. His message was brief. "If you're serious, check your inbox in 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, a file appeared, encrypted and timestamped. Inside was a 5-minute video clip, dated only 3 weeks earlier. Security footage, taken from inside what looked like a cheap motel room. The video was black and white, silent, and slightly distorted. Marcus walked into the room, glancing over his shoulder. The woman entered next. It was the same woman from the photo. She sat on the bed, laughing silently. Marcus took off his jacket and leaned in close, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. It wasn't just a fling, it was intimate, familiar. He knew her. At the end of the clip, Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. He opened it slowly. Inside was a necklace, the same one Elena had seen on the receipt. "I'm always yours." He placed it around the woman's neck and kissed her on the cheek. Elena paused the video. Her hands were numb. The initials matched. The necklace was real. The relationship was real, and Marcus was leading a double life, one online, perfect and curated, and one behind closed doors, shadowed and dangerous. Julian sent a final message. "He's not done running, but this time, someone else will pay the price." Elena stared at those words for a long time, unable to move. This wasn't just betrayal, this was premeditated, controlled. It wasn't about lust, it was about design. And Elena began to realize something she hadn't dared to think before. Marcus wasn't planning to leave her. He was planning to replace her. The woman's face haunted Elena. It wasn't just the resemblance, it was the precision of it. Her haircut, the way she moved, even the way she smiled under Marcus's gaze. It was all too familiar, too carefully constructed. This wasn't an accidental affair. This was a deliberate recreation. Elena needed to know who she was. She paused the video at every angle that showed the woman's face, taking screenshots and enhancing them with Mia's help. Using facial recognition software and background analysis, they finally uncovered a name: Lily Moore, age 27, personal trainer, originally from Phoenix, recently relocated to Stillwater. Her online presence was minimal, almost suspiciously so. Just a few pictures, a single LinkedIn profile, and a barely active Instagram page with fewer than 100 followers. But what stood out most was her sudden appearance in Stillwater 6 months ago. The same time Marcus had started spending late nights planning the next expansion of their fitness brand. He had claimed they were scouting new talent for remote training content. Elena had believed him. Now she realized the only scouting he was doing was for Lily. Digging deeper, Elena and Mia found Lily listed as a part-time employee under one of the shell LLCs Marcus had recently set up. Elena had seen the filings herself. She remembered questioning him about it, and Marcus had brushed it off as a tax structure thing. But now it was all falling into place. Marcus hadn't just hired Lily. He'd created a second operation, registered under his name only. She was listed as an on-site brand ambassador. She had access to the same studio equipment, a duplicate of their content library, even her own live stream login credentials, hidden behind firewalled pages Elena had never known existed. It was a clone, an exact replica of their business, their aesthetic, their life. And she was the new Elena. Elena scrolled through Lily's few online photos, noting every disturbing similarity. The same silver yoga mat. The same sportswear brand Marcus had insisted they switch to. The same tagline, "Strong starts within," that Elena herself had coined 3 years earlier. It was being used in a video thumbnail featuring Lily. Nothing about this was random. What chilled Elena more than anything was the calculated nature of it all. This wasn't just an impulsive affair or a moment of weakness. Marcus had orchestrated a new version of their brand, with a new woman wearing Elena's voice, her identity, her role. Why? Why not just leave? Unless he needed her gone. The thought surfaced slowly, like a body drifting up through dark water. Was it possible that Marcus didn't plan into marriage quietly? Maybe divorce wasn't part of the plan at all. Elena remembered how, in the last few months, Marcus had taken over more of the finances. He said it was for simplicity. She'd trusted him. Now it felt like surrendering her own signature to a stranger. Her name was on fewer contracts. Her presence in the videos had been reduced. He had even suggested she take a break from filming and let him handle the front-end content for a while. He was phasing her out. Not just professionally, possibly permanently. Julian's last message echoed louder now. He's not done running. But this time, someone else will pay the price. Was Marcus planning to disappear again, like he had 10 years ago? Start over with Lily under a new name, a new brand, a clean slate. And if so, what was he going to do with Elena? She stared at her reflection in the dark window. She couldn't tell anymore if she was looking at herself or at the woman Marcus had tried to replace her with. Elena didn't know when it happened, but something inside her shifted. Not fear, not even rage. Something sharper, colder. She wasn't going to run. She was going to expose him on the stage he valued most. And the world was going to watch. The decision came to Elena in the quietest hour of the night, when the rest of Stillwater slept under a velvet sky, and even the wind seemed to hold its breath. She sat alone in the studio, surrounded by the tools of the life she had built. Ring lights, tripods, branded merchandise, the soft buzz of a muted camera monitor. Everything around her had once symbolized purpose. Now it felt like a set, carefully arranged to cover up something far more sinister. She had spent weeks collecting evidence. Every file, every email, every image had been duplicated, cataloged, stored in encrypted folders. With Mia's help, Elena created a private database, one that outlined the web Marcus had spun around them both. She had mapped the shell companies, followed the money trail to hidden accounts, and backed up proof of Lily's involvement and Marcus's false identity. But information wasn't enough, not for a man like Marcus. He thrived in the spotlight, fed off the admiration of strangers, the illusion of perfection. He was the master of his narrative, curating every second that reached their audience. If Elena wanted to destroy the lie, she would have to do it where Marcus couldn't control the story live in front of thousands. The plan came together piece by piece. She scheduled a live stream titled Rebuilding from Within, marketed as a new series about transformation, healing, and honesty. Their audience had been hungry for more of Elena. Many had noticed her absence in recent videos. Comments had flooded in. "Where's Elena? We missed the Queen." Marcus had given vague answers about her creative retreat, but interest had only grown. Elena leaned into it. She designed promotional posts, sent teaser clips, even created a countdown clock on their shared website. The buzz was instant. The number of RSVPs skyrocketed. Influencers, sponsors, and longtime fans were all eager to watch her return to the screen. But Marcus didn't know. She waited until the night before the stream to act. He was asleep, his phone charging beside him. Elena stood silently in the hallway watching him through the crack in the door. He looked peaceful, innocent, even. But she knew better now. That calm exterior had hidden too much. Lies, betrayal, and the potential for something even darker. She tiptoed past him, her heart hammering. In the office, she accessed the main server and rerouted all of the live streaming platforms, YouTube, Instagram, their private app, so the video would broadcast simultaneously across every channel. No edits, no delays. The camera would turn on at 7 p.m. sharp, and for the first time, the mask would fall. She didn't sleep that night. Instead, she sat in the studio rehearsing her words. Not dramatic, not emotional, just facts. Let the audience see it for themselves. The photos, the documents, the side-by-side comparison of her and Lily, the secret businesses, the past identity of Mark Carter, the arrest records, Julian's story. All of it. It had to be undeniable, because Marcus wouldn't just deny it. He would charm, he would redirect, he would lie. But he couldn't lie to a live audience. Not when the footage spoke for itself. As the day crept forward, Elena moved like a ghost through their home. She avoided eye contact, gave vague replies, and kept herself composed. Marcus didn't notice. He was too busy planning a trip, one he said was a networking retreat. He was booking a hotel in a city where Lily just happened to be working out of a rented studio. He didn't even hide it well anymore. By 6:45 p.m., Elena was ready. She wore black, simple, clean, controlled. She set up her notes, placed the photo of Marcus and Lily within arm's reach, and turned on the preview monitor. 12,000 viewers had already joined. By 6:59, that number had doubled. She took a deep breath and stared into the lens. Her hand hovered over the keyboard. The red light blinked. Live. And in that moment, Elena knew there would be no going back. The stream began without warning. No flashy intro, no curated music, no brand logos, just Elena sitting alone in the studio, her face expressionless against the soft glow of the ring light. The backdrop was stripped of its usual props and slogans. Behind her hung a single framed photo, her and Marcus, smiling, arms wrapped around each other in what now felt like a hollow memory. The viewer count exploded almost instantly. 30,000, 50, over 100,000. People tuned in, expecting a vaudevitional session, a comeback story. What they got instead was silence. Thick, uncomfortable silence, as Elena stared directly into the camera for a full minute, letting the tension grow. When she finally spoke, her voice was low but steady. "I'm not here to talk about fitness tonight," she said. "I'm here to talk about truth." The chat box lit up. Confused emojis, questions, the usual internet noise. But Elena didn't flinch. She opened a folder on the table and held up the first document. Marcus's name change certificate. Mark Carter to Marcus Bradford, dated shortly after Julian Cross's arrest. Then, the police report from Chicago. Then, the video stills of Marcus with Lily outside the motel. Every piece presented with deliberate calm, as though she were a lawyer building a case in court. "I didn't find these by accident," she continued. "I've spent the last 6 weeks uncovering the man behind the camera, the man who built this empire beside me. And what I found, it wasn't a man rebuilding himself. It was a man hiding from everything he used to be." The viewers were no longer confused. The tone of the comments shifted. Shock, disbelief, suspicion. Some accused her of hacking. Others begged for proof, so she gave it to them. Clip after clip played on screen. Security footage of Marcus and Lily, financial transfers from their shared account to the shell business Lily worked for, emails from Julian Cross, a side-by-side comparison of Elena and Lily. It was undeniable, disturbing, meticulous. "I wasn't just being cheated on," Elena said, her voice tightening. "I was being replaced, from the inside out." Then she dropped the final piece. A time-stamped video file, sent by Julian just hours earlier. In it, Marcus is seen leaving the rented Stillwater studio late at night. He doesn't notice the camera across the street. He's smiling as he takes Lily's hand, laughing. Behind them, the sign reads "More Wellness Studio," a near replica of Elena's own brand. Same font, same colors, same phrases. "He created a clone of our life," Elena said. "He was planning to vanish again, just like he did 10 years ago when Julian went to prison for their crimes. Only this time, he wouldn't just disappear. He would erase me first." The chat erupted. People demanded answers. Viewers clipped the stream in real time, posting it across social media. Marcus Bradford trended within minutes. So did Elena expose the truth. But Marcus hadn't seen it yet. He was out, at a business dinner. His phone buzzed in his pocket, ignored, unaware that his world was unraveling second by second, in full public view. Elena ended the stream with a simple statement. "I built this with my own hands. He tried to rewrite my story, but I'm taking it back." Then the screen went black. In the silence that followed, Elena sat alone. Her heart pounded, not from fear but from adrenaline. There was no going back. What she had just done couldn't be undone. Some would call it brave, others would call it cruel. But Elena knew one thing for sure. Marcus would see it all. Every word, every image, every betrayal after it was too late to stop it. Marcus returned home just after midnight, unaware that his life had been publicly dissected, analyzed, and condemned by hundreds of thousands. He was smiling as he opened the door, keys jangling in one hand, the faint scent of expensive cologne trailing behind him. He had just spent the evening at an upscale lounge, planning his next move with Lily, telling her how close he was to finalizing the exit plan from his current life. The house was dark. Too quiet. He called out for Elena, expecting her usual clipped response or silent treatment. But there was nothing. The lights were off. The studio door was open. Inside he found the space stripped bare. No cameras, no equipment. Just a single laptop left open on the desk. A blinking screen paused on a still frame. His face caught mid-sentence from the live stream. Marcus froze. The reality hit him in layers. The viewer count, the timestamp, the chat log still visible on the right, all of it. The screenshots of documents, the videos, the side-by-side comparison with Lily. His face twisted with disbelief as he scrolled through the comments, thousands of them. Outraged, horrified, mocking. She did it. She told them everything. In less than an hour, his reputation had been obliterated. Sponsors were pulling out. His email was flooded with termination notices. Influencers he had partnered with had already posted statements distancing themselves from him. His carefully crafted empire had fallen like a house of cards. And Elena was gone. He searched the house room by room, but her belongings were missing, carefully taken, not rushed. There were no signs of a struggle, no chaos. Only order, deliberate, cold order. On the kitchen table was a manila envelope with his name scrawled across the front. Inside he found a flash drive. It contained one video, just Elena, seated in the same spot from earlier, looking into the camera. Not live this time, but personal. Her tone was icier, her words slower. "You always controlled the narrative, Marcus. Always made sure the cameras only saw what you wanted. But this time, you were the one being watched. You wanted to erase me, replace me, bury me beneath your second chance. But I'm still here, and now the world knows exactly who you are." The video ended. Marcus's hands trembled as he closed the laptop. He looked around the studio, now stripped of its charm, and for the first time, he felt exposed, vulnerable. His phone vibrated non-stop. Messages from Lily, panic-stricken. She had been named publicly. Her business was collapsing too. The world now saw her not as a victim, but as a co-conspirator in a disturbing game of deception. The silence in the house wrapped around him like a noose. Meanwhile, Elena sat in a hotel room across town, watching the fallout unfold in real time. Mia was with her, fielding calls from reporters, lawyers, even a few high-profile activists who had taken interest in her story. Julian had gone dark again. No more emails, but his last message before disappearing had been short and telling. Now he knows what it feels like. Elena didn't smile. There was no joy in revenge. Only the slow unraveling of pain that had been building for far too long. She had exposed the truth. But the truth didn't fix everything. It didn't undo the years she had given away, the trust that had been poisoned, or the fear she still carried deep inside. But it was a start. Somewhere in the distance, police scanners reported unusual activity at the home Marcus once shared with Elena. A disturbance, shouting, broken glass. A neighbor calling in a noise complaint. Something was unraveling, and the night wasn't over yet. The final night unfolded like a tightly wound clock breaking apart, its pieces spinning in every direction. Elena remained in her hotel room, curtains drawn, television off, phone on silent. She didn't need updates anymore. She had already lived the consequences. Her face, her voice, and her story were everywhere now. News channels dissected every frame of the live stream. Online communities swarmed with theories and speculation. Half the world had become obsessed with her truth, while the other half refused to believe it. But Elena wasn't thinking about any of that now. She was thinking about the silence that always followed a storm. The heavy, hollow quiet that settles in when there's nothing left to fight for. Across town, Marcus was unraveling. By morning, footage leaked of his public outburst. A neighbor had recorded him pacing in the front yard, shouting into his phone, flinging his laptop into the street, demanding anyone, fix this. He had been seen pulling his hair, arguing with himself, making no sense. His house was in chaos. Drawers ripped open, shelves overturned, broken glass crunching under his bare feet. When the police finally arrived, they found Marcus alone, disoriented, and volatile. Officers initially approached with caution, suspecting drugs or a mental break, but there were no substances, just shattered pride and a man drowning in the collapse of the life he'd stolen. He wasn't arrested, not yet, but he was warned. The investigation had already begun. Elena had submitted everything: forged contracts, false tax filings, documentation of stolen assets, and hidden accounts. More damning than the infidelity was the financial fraud, the very thing Julian had gone to prison for. Only this time, Marcus couldn't pin it on someone else. He was the only name on the paperwork, the only fingerprints on the digital trail. Lily, meanwhile, had disappeared. Her studio shuttered overnight, her phone disconnected, her accounts wiped. Whether she had vanished by choice or been advised to stay quiet by legal counsel, no one knew. But her silence only deepened the mystery. Some speculated she had been a victim too. Others were convinced she was complicit. Her online following turned toxic in hours, with every post she'd ever made becoming evidence for one side or the other. Back at the hotel, Elena watched the sun rise. She hadn't slept. Couldn't. Her hands still trembled occasionally, not from fear but from the aftermath of control finally released. The weight of it all pressed down, even in freedom. She had won, but it didn't feel like victory. It felt like survival. Mia sat nearby, tapping through media alerts and interview requests. Elena ignored them. She didn't want to speak anymore. She had said everything that mattered in front of the world. The rest could wait. Then a knock at the door. Elena didn't flinch. She knew who it was before she opened it. A man in plain clothes, badge in hand, expression unreadable. He introduced himself as Detective Langford. Calm, formal, deliberate. He told her they were building a case, that Marcus was not in custody yet. But things were moving quickly. Her evidence was thorough, devastating. It was only a matter of time. Elena thanked him and closed the door slowly. It was over. Almost. By nightfall, the final twist arrived in the form of a headline: Marcus Bradford found unconscious at Stillwater Bridge. Apparent overdose attempt. The news hit every outlet within minutes. Emergency responders had revived him. He was stable, hospitalized under surveillance. No statement had been given. The internet lit up again. Sympathy, disgust, speculation. Elena read none of it. She walked outside instead, barefoot on the cold pavement of the hotel balcony, breathing in the early night air. The sky was deep blue, quiet, no cameras, no spotlight, just her, alone with the truth. And for the first time in years, she felt something dangerously close to peace.